Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. Welcome to another Monday Money, where Samantha's already laughing at me because I'm demonstrating what I'm talking about right now.
It is. It's so perfect.
Which is crying about media. If you need a hint, we just did our Last of Us 2 reaction to episode 2. So here I am. I have talked about this before, but I thought I would look into it. And just see, what is going on here? Is it good? Is it bad? All of those things. So one of the main reasons that people cry at media is often because you have a relationship with a fictional character. This is a parasocial relationship or a one-directional relationship because, they're fictional. They don't know anything about you. But the thing is, people who have looked into this say, actually, the brain can't really differentiate between that all the time. You might still feel it as if it was a real relationship. And in some cases, it can be, I've talked before about I've gone through these traumatic things, and here was this piece of media that helped me get through it. So you can really form a connection. I also think, for me personally, I think a lot of people too, you might assign someone a fictional character like, oh, that reminds me of this person that I know in real life or something like that. So you can form a connection in that way. We are going to get into it later. I think a lot of us know this can have unhealthy side effects, but it can have a lot of really healthy ones, including like boosting your self-esteem, not feeling as lonely, or maybe feeling like belonging, especially if you're in maybe a small town and there aren't people who necessarily you connect to for one reason or the other. They can be really beneficial in that way. And then they become really important to you. So if you lose them, it can be really painful. And to that end, there have been studies about what happens when that relationship comes to an end for one reason or another, because it doesn't have to be a death. It could be like maybe they take the character in a way you really don't like or really don't connect to anymore. But it is usually a death. And then you feel this really strong emotional response. And, especially you can have these relationships with a character for a long time, depending on the media or depending on how you engaged with it. And that can be outside of, if you're doing even things like fan fiction or something like that, you can have a really strong relationship with a character. And so that's why when they die or when they change in a way that is just irreconcilable to you, it can be really painful. And you might turn to something like fan fiction and write the ending differently, but everyone else knows them as dead, and you do too. Just because I wrote that fan fiction doesn't mean they're still alive. And eventually the person's gonna forget them and no one's gonna write fan fiction about them anymore. This is a real concern that I have. This also involves something called the paradox of tragedy, which I thought was really interesting. It's basically we don't like tragedy in real life. A lot of us don't like crying, but some of us really do enjoy the vulnerability and shared emotion of a fictional tragedy. And a lot of people think this has to do with the whole idea, the ancient Greek idea of catharsis, of getting together to witness something tragic, and that releases maybe something you had pent up. And as we've discussed before, some research does suggest that we feel better after crying. Some theorize that something called meta emotions is involved. Basically, we're glad that we can feel empathy or something like that towards other people, even if they're fictional. Other studies suggest that empathizing and reading fictional characters can increase emotional intelligence. So like reading them emotionally. It can help you read people in real life emotionally. So empathy is one of the 5 key parts of emotional intelligence, along with self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and social skills. So high emotional intelligence is associated with a lot of positive things, including better leadership, better relationships, better conflict resolution, things like that. A good story also triggers oxytocin, which I know a lot of us think of as like, the happiness. But it actually, like, if a good story is triggering that, in a case of a sad story, that can be going on, and it then enhances your sad emotions, especially around compassion and empathy. On top of that, in some ways, it can feel like a safer release even in dark times. So that's something I really relate to. It can be way easier for me to cry for a fictional character than someone I actually know. And it doesn't mean I didn't care for that person I actually know. I'm probably crying for them through the fictional character. It's just, I think it's you're trying to protect yourself type thing. Since crying is stereotypically seen as a more feminine thing, we have often painted it as a weakness, but it can be a sign of strength. Obviously, there are some exceptions, but in general, good movie or TV show or game is good to let it out. As I mentioned, there are downsides. If people care more about fictional characters over real people, even people they don't know, or neglect their life because of media, those are bad things. As is if you can't shake the sadness of it and it starts to impact your life. This kind of made me crack up because they're like, if you're still over a week later still dealing with it. And I was like, uh-oh. Years. We're talking years. But it's not as bad as it was. I also found this, and this is not what we're talking about today, but I did find it related to this conversation. There's this newish thing of people posting videos of themselves crying on social media. And there's a lot of theories about why that is. Wanting connection, wanting pain to be witnessed, wanting to feel validated, being performative, wanting more clicks. There's a lot of conversation about it. But that can happen and is happening in a lot of instances when a fictional character dies or something painful happens in something popular. And this is where I did look up, I've mentioned this before, but I really want a fandom therapist. But I realized this is a thing, but it refers to therapists using fandom to conduct therapy, which is not what I'm talking about. I need someone I can be like, do you remember in Star Wars in this episode where this happened and people reacted this way? I need to get into it. But there is a directory I found that I cannot vouch for, but it's supposed to be like if you want somebody who knows a lot about this fandom. So I don't know. Maybe I should be the change I want to see. A lot of stuff is written about the power of fandom for therapy. So there's been science and research into this. It is a thing. So if you have experienced this, you are not alone. I'm going through it right now. I'm sorry my voice is a little snotty. Well, listeners, let me know if you have any thoughts about this. You can email us at hello@stuffwenevertoldyou.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Mom Stuff Podcast, or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff We Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks as always to our super producer Christina, executive producer Maya, and our contributor Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff We Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or if you listen to your favorite shows.